Hello dear World of Warcraft friends, welcome back to a new video on my channel. BlizzCon is coming up the month after next, so now it's a little less than 2 months away and many are speculating that World of Warcraft Classic Plus will be announced there. In other words, a reimagined classic with new content that we haven't had before. Now, there have been leaks, rumors, and other things, but what we haven't looked at yet is what the community actually wants. There's actually a website that covers the entire Classic Plus project where players can vote for things they'd like to see in the game and so on and so forth. In this video, we'll take a look at the most requested features from the Classic Plus community, and of course, if you have any specific requests, feel free to write them in the comments. I'm actually not that involved in Classic myself, so I'm really curious to see what kinds of things players are wishing for. Alright, let's get started with the video. Leave a like, subscribe, and this page here is about the Classic Plus project. We can see that this is a website that asks us, or you as players, exactly that. In the end, there's a Discord server for it, there's this website, and it's ultimately meant to serve as a guide for that. What does the community actually want? What should a Classic Plus look like? Whether Blizzard will take that into account in the end or not, that's still pretty open. You can see here there are different surveys you can take part in about systems, player characters, the world, and an intro quest line. You can also complete all of this yourself if you're interested and want to get inspired by some ideas. And now at this point we can just take a look at the survey results. You can see here there were a lot of questions. We won't look at every single one of them now, but if you take a look at the beginning, it was mainly about how old you are, how often you play World of Warcraft, and so on and so forth. First of all, how likely is it that people will play Classic Plus? A lot of people actually say yes. Yes. I'll probably play it. So, according to this survey, we had over 50,000 votes in total. 90 say, yeah, I'll play it. Of those, 43 say they'll wait and see how it turns out in the end. Should modern character models and animations be used? The opinion on that is pretty clear. Nope. It's the same with spell effects, so most people are sticking with one here, so no, not really. When it comes to the interface, people are a bit more open to it. But now let's get to the interesting stuff. For example, Dungeon Finder. It should be implemented, but you still have to travel to the group yourself, or rather to the dungeon. So not the auto-teleport like we have now. Should there be heroic dungeons? Most people say maybe. Many would like to see rated PvE, something like Mythic Plus, just like rated PvP. A lot of people would also really like to have AoE looting. Next, let's go to more questions like this. 80% of people say they don't want flying mounts. They want guild banks, and when it comes to achievements, players also say yes, that should definitely be included. Transmog, which actually surprised me a bit, 51% say no, they don't want it. Transmog is lame. So many people want the classic look with all kinds of mixed up sets. Collections, like for mounts, toys, and so on, should be included. Mixed up. Filtering sets, collections, and then level cap, should that be increased? Then it moves on to zones. So new zones are something that a lot of people really want, so that the classic experience gets expanded. No matter where on Azeroth or just on the 2 continents, most people actually say it doesn't matter at all where. New content should definitely be added. So new zones, new quests, new dungeons. So you can already see here that players expect Classic Plus to bring completely new content that we didn't have before. The leveling pace shouldn't be changed. More class quests are being requested, for example, more epic quest lines as well. And then here, this is actually quite interesting. Which of the following best describes how you'd like to see changes in Classic Plus to old raids? So what would people most likely wish for? And here they say all of the above, so more complex and challenging mechanics. At the same time, the spirit of the old raids should be maintained, plus new bosses and new areas. So here as well, it's best if it's a bit more challenging with the old flair, but also new bosses. That's my personal assessment. I think it will be difficult for Blizzard to meet these expectations because in the end, I don't think you can please everyone. New raids should also be included. Scarlet Enclave did the best here. So content that should fit new classes, the players actually say no to that. At least 35 said yes, but in the end, both already existing classes in retail, but also new ones that we've never had in World of Warcraft. New race and class combos, yes, as long as they make sense. And so we see it like this. In the end, talents should only be slightly reworked. The classes shouldn't be perfectly balanced, dual spec. The players say yes to that. New professions also got a yes. And should these be more relevant for endgame content, people also say yes to that. So if you sum it up, people want an experience that comes very close to classic when it comes to the leveling phase. Everything should feel fitting. So no new fantasy classes that have nothing to do with WoW. They want new dungeons, raids, new bosses, but ideally everything should somehow look and feel familiar. And like I said, I'm really curious to see how Blizzard manages to implement that. Because I think no matter how they do it, in the end, there will be people who are disappointed. But what's your opinion on this? Feel free to write it in the comments. And with that, thanks for watching. See you in the next video and take care.